Hola chicos, bienvenidos a la clase de español. Tonight we are learning a new verb structure and it is called tener plus que plus infinitive. So it's almost like a little math equation that we are going to use to build sentences. So this can be your title, tener plus que plus infinitive. And what this phrase does is it expresses what people have to do. And you'll see how it works very shortly. So there are no guided notes for this video, but I will point out to you what you should be writing down for each slide. So tener equals, it means to have. So just for yourself, I think it's a good idea to rewrite what tener means. So tener means to have, and I think it's a good idea to write down the conjugations. So remember, when you conjugate a verb, you are changing each verb to agree with the subject pronoun or the person. So, I have, yo tengo. You have, tú tienes. He, she, you formal, has. Él, ella, usted, tiene. We have, nosotros tenemos. You all have, vosotros tenéis. They have, ellos, ellas, ustedes tienen. So we have used tener before, and you used it quite a bit today in your bell ringer and in the worksheet that you did with your amigos today. So I think it's a wonderful idea to rewrite the conjugations in that famous chart that we always use for verbs, just to remind yourself. So, as I was saying, tener is used for many things. For example, you can say what class you have with tener. I have Spanish class. Yo tengo la clase de español. You can talk about what features you have. Yo tengo pelo castaño. I have brown hair. Or any items, actual things that you have, that you own. Yo tengo dos libros. I have 2 books. And that was your bell ringer today. But now, we are going to use tener not to talk about things that we have, but we're going to use it to talk about things that we do. So you should write that down. We are going to use tener to talk about what we have to do. We are going to combine it with other verbs. And hopefully you remember that verbs that are not conjugated are called infinitives. So from this slide you should be writing, we are going to use tener to express what we have to do, and we are going to combine it with other verbs. These other verbs that we are using are called infinitives. Make sure you know what an infinitive is. So below that, if you need to include an infinitive is a non-conjugated verb, please write that as well. An infinitive is a non-conjugated verb. I know it's a little confusing right now, but it's very simple once you start going through the steps. So, first step, for example, let's say I want to express the sentence, I have to study. So, I'm going to conjugate tener to agree with I, yo. So, you should know that I have is yo tengo, because we've used tener before, yo tengo. Next, I'm going to add a connecting word, which is que, Q-U-E. There's no accent on any of those vowels or anything, it's just que. So that gives me yo tengo, que. And then finally, I'm just going to add the verb that means to study. Yo tengo que estudiar. And then I'm done. So you see in red in English, I have to study. Then in red in Spanish, yo tengo que estudiar. That's an exact translation. So the reason this is sort of like a math problem is that you are really just adding things together. You're adding tengo, you are adding a connecting word que, and you add your last verb, estudiar. Let's try another one. You have to take notes. So look at your chart of tener, and if I want to say you have, which form of tener do I use? Tú tienes. What do I do next? Look back at your steps. I'm going to add something next. I'm going to add the connecting word que. And finally, I'm going to find out what the verb is for to take notes. You might know it by now, or you might have to look back at page 105, where all the verbs are. So to take notes is tomar apuntes. So remember, it's a math problem. I'm just adding it all together. Tú tienes, I'm adding que, I'm adding tomar apuntes, and put it all together. Boom, tú tienes que tomar apuntes. I am done. So it's fairly simple once you get the steps down and once you understand the formula. You're just putting things together. So please write this rule down. If you have two verbs in a row, kind of like this that we're talking about today, do not conjugate the second verb. Just leave it alone. So you'll notice how my second verb still ends in ar. We did estudiar as the first example, and then we did tomar as the second example. I didn't change it to agree with anything. I just left it alone. So please remember, if you have two verbs, please write down, if you have two verbs in a row, do not conjugate the second verb. So now tener plus que plus infinitive should make sense because a non-conjugated verb is an infinitive. And that's the title of our notes, tener plus que plus infinitive. So I would like you to do some practice sentences. Follow the steps, conjugate tener, add the connecting word que, and then just add your last verb. Those last verbs are on page 105 of your textbook in case you do not know what they mean. So to answer, to get a good grade, to use the computer, and to arrive, those are all on page 105. For the last one, a lot of you were asking the other day, how do you say on time? On time is a tiempo, so you can just tack that onto the end of your sentence. So please do these practice sentences, and this will be the first thing that we check tomorrow when we go over the notes. All right, excellent job. Hopefully you did okay without a guided note sheet, and we'll see how the notes went tomorrow, and we'll go over our practice sentences. All right, chicos, very good job. Adiós, hasta mañana.